Okay. The San Francisco Health Commission, San Francisco Department of Public Health staff acknowledges that we are on the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. As the indigenous stewards of this land and in accordance with their traditions, the Ramaytush Ohlone has never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as the caretakers of this place, as well as for all peoples who reside in their traditional territory. As guests, we recognize that we benefit from living and working on their traditional homeland. We wish to pay our respects by acknowledging the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush Ohlone community and by affirming their sovereign rights as First Peoples.
Great, thank you. Okay, we will go into item number 3, which is the welcome and roll call, which we have done behind the scenes, and we do have quorum. We open it up for public comment on that item. Okay, I am seeing no hands up and no notes in the chat. So we're moving right on to item number 4, which is the approval of minutes from September's meeting.
Can you see that there?
Yes.
Great.
Okay, do we have any changes, corrections, clarifications on the minutes from September? Okay, I am seeing no changes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as they are?
I move to approve the minutes as they are.
Great, thank you, Hannah. The minutes have, motion has been made to approve the minutes with no changes. We need a second, please.
I can second that.
Great, we have Laura is seconding that. All in favor, again, this is just to Food Security Task Force members, please raise your hand. Sorry, my thing is, okay.
Okay, I counted 10.
Okay, Anne just texted me that approved.
Okay.
Great. Lower hand, okay, any abstentions? Okay, I am seeing no abstentions and nothing in the chat. Any nays? Okay, seeing no nays, the motion is passed. Thank you. Thank you guys for taking such great notes. Okay, and the agenda has been posted in the chat. It's also on the website, so welcome to join in, folks. We are now on item number 5, which is general public comment. We always leave a little time at the beginning if anyone has any comments. Okay, I am not seeing any hands up. And yes, no, I'm not seeing any public comments. So good. So we'll get into our business. I wanted to, before we get into our full meeting, I wanted to say that this meeting should be a short meeting. It's going to be some updates, some discussion, and then a real call to action is going to be the main part of this meeting today. So again, this should be fairly short. Wanted to make some welcomes to some changes from the for our membership. So P, would you mind, do you have that? Do you have the?
Yes, so Emily Cohen with HSH will no longer be a part of the task force, but we have Marion Sanders, correct me if I'm wrong, but Marion Sanders with HSH who will be taking her seat. So if you want to briefly introduce yourself and welcome yourself to the task force.
Thank you. I'm Marion Sanders. I am the Chief Deputy Director at HSH, so I oversee all of the programming, strategy, planning, data, and performance comes under my purview. Happy to be here.
Great. We're happy to have you. Thank you so much. And Marion, we'll go through the meeting, but be happy to meet with you, the P and myself and Eric, and kind of fill you in on all the good stuff at some point. So we'll get you a little oriented. But welcome aboard. We're delighted to have you. Okay, great. Yeah, so let's roll on into item number 6, which is the San Francisco Food Coordination structure. And I'm going to talk, actually, P is going to lead us in some of this discussion of the next steps. Again, from our last meeting, we did have a group of folks that got together to discuss next steps around the meeting with supervisors and getting feedback to moving forward with a ask around a new food coordination structure. So, P, did you want to fill us in on the activities since last meeting?
Yes, thank you, Sissy. Food Security Task Force members, as you've probably already seen with my emails, we have a few meetings set up now with supervisors and still working to schedule some more. So we are meeting with Chen's office tomorrow, Fielder's office on Friday, and then Mahmoud's office on the 10th. If any of you are interested in joining those meetings, please let me know so I can add you to the invites. Based off our conversation that we had, we discussed the food structure and we decided that we're going to stick with the proposal that the subcommittee created. So going into these meetings, there are really two conversations that are happening. One is about food structure in San Francisco. The second one is the reauthorization. So we're really checking in with supervisors to see if there have been any conversations around legislation, if they've heard of any movement, if they're interested in introducing legislation. If not, are there any plans to reauthorize the Food Security Task Force? And if they're not going to reauthorize the Food Security Task Force, we're interested in knowing if there are other plans in place to replace this body and the work that San Francisco is doing in food security. Again, first meeting is tomorrow, so once I have more information, I will reach back out with those updates.
Yeah, and I will have some of the group that was meeting to give some updates too. I wanted to, before we do that, I did want to give a little more detail on one of the aspects we discussed, which is when we are recommending, as I've said a bunch of times, the recommendation for food coordination within San Francisco from the Food Security Task Force.
Computer password?
Hi, Susie. I think you're open. So is a two-part recommendation. So one is the food coordination through the city, and the second piece is a community advisory board. For some of the structure of the community advisory board, we did talk about utilizing or proposing that we looked at two different models. One is from the Dignity Fund and their community advisory board. It's called their Dignity Fund. I think it's Oversight and Advisory Committee. And I'm going to put that link in here for you to see in the chat. All right. And then the other option was keeping the Food Security Task Force structure, as is in the legislation around the Food Security Task Force. And that is basically seats that are committed to community-based organizations involved in food security around the city, food justice and food security. And then there's like one seat open to the public, so you might want to talk about like the composition of that may change, but using some of the same structure around how are they nominated. They're nominated through the Food Security Task Force, and then they are approved by the Board of Supervisors. There are a couple different options for some of these advisory committees where they're appointed by the mayor, appointed by the Board of Supervisors, who recommends them. Again, if people are interested in Food Security Task Force, they apply with an application. They are reviewed and then voted on by members of the task force, and then they have to be approved. I'm going to also put in the link once I find it. Sorry, I have so many links up at this time, where you can look at the charter or the Food Security Task Force. And I can even share some of these, put this in the link. One of the things we will be doing when we're meeting with the supervisors and their staff is making proposal, but also getting feedback from the members on what type of structure they might recommend. We are also, P has put together some meetings with folks from the Dignity Fund to find out a little more details about how that works. And yeah, anything else I'm missing there? For any of the folks that were there in that meeting, Jade, who else was there? Katie, anyone have any updates? Food Bank was also present. No comments to add to this?
Sorry, Sissy, what meeting were you referring to? The last?
Yeah, on the food coordination.
Oh yeah, the public hearing.
Not the public hearing, that comes next, but the structure.
Yeah, the meeting was labeled as that. That was my
Oh,
fault.
sorry.
But yes, that meeting.
Okay, so next steps for this is it's really we have a little more detailed ideas of the proposal, and we're going to get feedback. Again, we are going to supervisors that expressed interest in this topic when we met with them to discuss the recommendations, and we will bring some of that feedback back to the group. Sound good? Any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Just one thought in terms of what's happening federally and the discontinuation on the federal report on hunger.
Yes.
Anything that we want to kind of highlight as filling a local gap and the work that the Food Security Task Force, and just highlighting the importance of knowing that we will no longer have this federal report, how important our local work is.
Yeah, I think, Katie, thank you for bringing that up. I was going to bring that up as the updates and emerging issues, which seem to be like every day right now, there's emerging issues. But yes, but I think that's a great opportunity to talk about, given that there is a lot happening on the federal level that's impacting the state level that can impact our county around food security. How is the city going, and the response that more than ever we need some coordination across the city? Yeah. So I think that's a great point. Thank you for that. And I think we should definitely talk about that on item number 8 when we're talking about emerging issues. Other comments or questions from Food Security Task Force? Okay, let's open it up for public comment on this topic. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands up, and I'm seeing no notes in the chat. So happy to move on to the next item. Okay, so this is item number 7. This is the Commission Streamlining Task Force. There's an October 15th meeting. So again, this is an item we discussed last time. This is going to be our call to action. This is what we call, one of my staff calls the committee to end all committees, that is meeting, and the 15th is the date that they're discussing the task force. We have put together, that means Eric has put together a letter from the task force to the commission. There is open public comment until the 15th. We are asking all folks and to represent their agencies, their organizations, and send in a letter of recommendation or a letter to support the task force to the commission in the next 2 weeks, before the 15th commission date. And we'll send out this to the task force members and to our listserv. It's really, really important. Again, I just want to echo what Katie said. This is not the time to sunset the food security task force. And again, to reiterate the issues that we talked about before, just aligning our thoughts on this. We absolutely want to move towards a centralized food coordination with a community advisory board. In the meantime, we want to keep the food security task force whole until that time that there is a new structure, and then that we can then eliminate the task force at that time. So during that period, we need to, one, have support for the task force through this October 15th meeting. Also, the Food Security Task Force is slated to sunset this July in 2026. So we will, when we meet with the supervisors, we will also mention this, that we also need legislators to support a reauthorization of the task force, should there not be a food coordination legislation to preempt that. All making sense? Okay. Eric, did you want to, one of the things, did we want to share any information at this around the content of that letter, Eric?
I don't know. That's up to you. We're going to be sending it out very soon. So keep an eye out for it. We're going to send it out probably tomorrow to you all to look at. But if you feel like it's important to look at it now, we can.
Yeah, I just want to highlight to everyone that the more that you use your own language, the better for these. For those of you, I know that we've talked a lot about the importance of the task force from a lot of members over the years. So I think this is a really, really important time. Even if, you know, and I would say that this task force has been very, very impactful. Not only doing annual recommendations, doing analysis of doing reporting on food security, but also the importance of having the group that meets together, that is both city and non-city. This cross-functional and cross is so important, and the ability to have sharing the same knowledge and information across these sectors, and being able to have community bring up issues, emerging issues, be able to present on issues important to them, that we have these recommendations that are vetted by different voices and different organizations with different viewpoints. So I think there's a lot to support on this. If anyone else wants to chip in on if they're sending a letter in and it's what they are hoping to say, I would open that up to you.
I would say that one thing Project Open Hand has used, just the biennial report that this body puts together. We've used that to secure grant funding for programs. So just that data helps us to, you know, eliminate the issues that we're hoping to address through our programming. So I think that could be just to call to attention that this information is being used in that way, or could be.
Thank you, Katie. Other folks? Jade?
Just a question. Wrong one. Just a question on like the timeline. The letter we're planning on sending like next week, and do we all have to, as members of the task force, do we all have to approve, like, what's the process, I guess, or is it just
Yes,
gonna be
that's a
sent?
really good question. Again, this is optional, but we're highly encouraging folks to support the task force. If you believe in what we do and you're showing up to meetings, we're hoping that you would support the continuation of this important group. Also, really important is on the day itself, there'll be opportunity for public comment. I'm really encouraging organizations, though, to send in their information as soon as possible, send in letters of support, because I don't know how this committee works, and I want to make sure that they receive information before they make decisions. Sometimes they go in and already have the decision made, so that comment is not as, timely. I don't know if anyone else has any opinions on that. I'm not sure how this particular committee works, but I definitely encourage participation in the event, but sending in those letters ahead of time.
I meant the food security task force letter. Like if we're gonna get a chance to read it before it gets sent to the commission, or no?
Yes. Eric, I need to send it in soon, so yeah. You're gonna send it out today or tomorrow?
I'm gonna send you like a final version today, Sissy, and then
Yeah.
once all the edits are made, we're gonna send it out to the task force.
Yeah. So I don't know, Jade, if I have time. I'm happy to share that with you, but I do want to get it out as soon as possible. So do you want to share the content, Eric? We can share it real quick.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a letter of support. It's more kind of like here are the reasons why we still want to keep the task force intact until there's an evolution of another public body that can come replace it. Really highlighting the importance of cross-sector collaboration. This is really the only space here in the city that focuses on food security and practices transparency, information sharing around food security related issues, plays a role in developing the biennial food security equity report, lists like a few accomplishments that the task force has done over the last 2 decades. And then really highlighting like, we're not saying that the task force is perfect, but that, if nothing is here to replace this work that really engages community, then we should not be sunsetting it next year.
Yeah, all of that I totally agree with. I was just asking about the process of like this letter. Like it's gonna be shared with us for review, but not really time to give feedback on. It's just we're reading to see what it's on it, and then it's gonna be sent to the commission.
Yeah, if folks would like to see it first, that's fine. I just worry about the time frame that it has to get out. So I'm not worried about that. If the group would like to see it, we're happy to do that. We can send it around to the task force, but it has to, the latest it should get out is Friday. So, we can send it around, and then if anyone has any feedback, if they could get it back by Thursday, we could get out Friday, that would be great. Does that sound good? Beth?
Can you hear me?
Okay, seeing that. Yep.
Yeah. Can departments not formally in the task force sign the letter?
So you have to check with your own departments. I think there has been incidents of the past where our departments can support, or just not even support, just say that this is what we have found valuable. So it really, but it's all depends on what your department is allowed to do. So you'd have to check up.
Got it. Thanks.
Jeffrey, how are you?
Hello, all. Well, I just thought I better. Where's Priscilla? Tell her I'm here. I didn't want anybody to think I'd faded out. I know I thought I'd been to a couple of these, but apparently time got away. But I'm here, accounted for. We ready to fight the fight because we all got to marshal to the front of the line these days. They showing up trying to get rid of us. Uh, anyway, I'm down. Just wanted to let you know.
What the fuck? I'm getting rid of these
That's
people
right.
next year?
Exactly. You got the right
Huh?
answer. You said it. Okay, sissy. I'm here.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Jeffrey. Okay, any other information on this topic? I'm going to open it up to, we've already had some task force members, some non-task force members. Any other comment, either from task force members or from the public? I know there's also some other folks that were on here. Alex from the food bank was in our meeting. Anyone else? Okay, so just to reiterate, you will receive, the task force members will receive the letter from a draft letter, if you from the chair of the task force, that's me, to the commission. If you have any comments, you'll need to turn that around really quick because we're going to get that out Friday. Everyone else will receive from the listserv some of the highlights of that we ask you to write a letter on your letterhead, or if you're an individual, just write that letter in, and recommending the continuance of the task force and saying in your own words why you think it was helpful for you or has been helpful. Okay? Questions on that? Okay. I am not seeing any other public comment. Oh yeah, is there an in-depth depth list of task force accomplishments from the Food Security Task Force? Yes, so the Food Security Task Force did respond to the gosh, what's the commission again? Eric, it was
Which commission?
the first
The civil grand
Civil
jury.
grand jury, yes. They did a report on commissions, a recommendation, and they had a bunch of misinformation about the Food Security Task Force. So we did send a letter. And that should be on, that should be on the website, right? And that included all the accomplishments. We can also share that with the listserv when we send it out. It's pretty detailed. There was a lot of information that was inaccurate about the task force, such as attendance, such as not doing yearly recommendations. There was a lot of misinformation that we had to correct through that. And we did list all the accomplishments. So we're happy to share that. Great, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, great. We are going to go to item number 8. Because I'm seeing no more public comment and no more questions in the chat. And this is updates and emerging issues. So this is the time to open it up for new events. There's a couple of announcements I'd like to make around this meeting and future agenda items. But also just wanted to, so I'll start with that, if that's okay with everybody, and then open it up for other public comment. And then really like to hear folks' opinions on what Katie had mentioned around the economic research study. So a couple announcements for upcoming meetings. We were going to hear from HSA today, but it's our understanding, and I think Cindy and Tiffany are here, that there will be a presentation next month by both DOS and HSA. Is that correct? We confirming?
It's for the December meeting, Sissy.
Oh, for the December meeting. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. Great. Okay, and there was just a thought that they would like to present together. So that's why that has been put off until December. We already mentioned the new task force member. Welcome, welcome. We also did receive one new application for a task force seat. We're just holding off on that for now, and we will be getting back to that person with a process for filling that seat. But we've just got a couple other things we need to attend to right now, so we're holding off on that. What am I missing, P&E, in terms of announcements for the Food Security Task Force? I think that's it. Okay, opening up for other updates. Emerging issues.
Well, I guess my question is, hold on for a minute. How do we deal with the issues from our little government shutdown? Any plans? Any thoughts? Any considerations? Hello? Oh shit!
Yeah.
Maybe they can't hear me.
We can hear you. We can hear
Oh,
you.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, let's I just want to clarify that the government shutdown. So we know Medicaid and Medicare we do not think are impacted. Those are
For now.
the SNAP benefits and WIC. I have not heard.
SNAP is not impacted, and CalFresh is not impacted so far. We have enough to cover October.
Great, thank you, Susie. Yeah, I have not heard that they were impacted. I've not heard any WIC changes. Anything, Jennifer, for the school district or anything?
At this point, no. We have funding at least through October at the state level for those reimbursements, and it is an entitlement program, right? And so in theory, we're supposed to be continuing to get those reimbursements, but unprecedented times and all.
Thank you.
Do we have a timeline? I mean, like, is there a point where, like, after 6 weeks, it's like, oh, then they start going after everything else, or does anybody know?
Yeah, Jeffrey, it's a good question. I mean, we are still, when Jamil reported on the HSA, particularly around SNAP cuts, there was he was going to keep us apprised, excuse me, of the activities. So we're still, I think the idea that we've heard is that it's still being monitored. And especially important to the Food Security Task Force is the numbers of folks that might be impacted by federal activities and what that might look like locally. So we, and I'm not sure if there's, the other big cuts were the SNAP Ed cuts, and those today, I think the SNAP Ed stopped on September 30th. I think there might be, of course, there's a lot of concern around other research projects and all sorts of other things, but those are the main issues that we have discussed in prior Food Security Task Force meetings. Does anyone have any other comments on that? And then Preeti, I saw your hand up.
No, I just was going to just give an update for WIC. So the state has funds through mid-November. But yeah, we have a call this afternoon to just kind of talk more about any implications. So the biggest thing for us is just letting families know that services are continuing uninterrupted. I know with the shutdown always comes the confusion and families thinking everything is closed, and that's not the case. And so we're trying to get that messaging out that we are still open, and we're not an entitlement program, but we're still continuing to serve families, and it's at least, you know, business as usual, at least for right now.
Thank you, Preeti. Other comments, questions? I do.
What is it, 120? Oh, okay. Thank you.
Hey, Jeff, Jeffrey, you're still on. You want to mute your phone. So I wanted to.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. I want to follow up on Katie's announcement, and that's the USDA economic research study, which is really, for food security in general, a huge hit. There's many in the food security community feeling that there's just a lot of really deprioritizing of food security and potential future deprioritizing of funding for this, and without being able to track food security becomes a little bit more of an invisible issue, right? So a really big threat. And then what is happening on the local level? I think it may be worth us to take a deeper look into how this might impact us locally. I know that there has been discussion among this group in the past around how we track food security in San Francisco, and it's kind of a tricky thing to track. And there was a lot of discussion about, CHIS is that's the California Health Information Study, and the accuracy of some of that data. But what is going to happen with that? I am not, this did just come around recently, but also the does the economic research study also impact anything else? We know that SNAP benefits are based on the Thrifty Food Plan. That's the prices that they put out, and there has been a halt on that. That was part of the SNAP, the package, right? The big bill. So it'd be interesting to see if we can find out a little bit more from our advocates or from the city folks, because I'm sure everyone's on the same page trying to figure out what this means so that we can share this with the group. Does anyone have any insights of this right now? Great. I just want to emphasize what Katie said and just really double down on that. And thank you for bringing that up. That this is why we need to get together and talk these changes. And thank you, Preeti, for bringing up the concerns that brings to our folks that we're serving and the anxieties that these create. So really keeping that top of mind as we go through this. So thank you all for keeping us updated. Yes, Reagan also mentioned the Lucky closing in the Bayview. That was announced, I believe the date is November 1st, is that correct? Again, this was part of
November 1st.
Yeah, the concern here, thank you, Melinda. It was this is one of the concerns that we had on our recommendations was these constriction of retail, especially in historically underserved neighborhoods such as the Bayview. So and what's there to replace that, and what's the activities that can support retail in those areas. So I had not heard anything, and Lucky's one of our vendors. We had not heard the reasons behind it. I don't know if anyone else has. No. Okay. More update on that.
Sorry.
Other updates, emerging issues. Any more from the Food Security Task Force? And we'll open up. We've been mixing public, so I hope that's okay, folks. But any more from Food Security Task Force? I'm going to open it fully public. Okay.
Oh,
Opening it
sorry,
up.
just a couple in response to Reagan's question about the baby location. I reached out to Maggie at the D10 Community Market, and they don't expect like it for like there's like for more folks to use their services than already do as a result of like the baby closing. But they did mention that they do need help with like volunteers, so I was gonna do like a help organize a group to go out there to volunteer, and maybe do like yeah, just like a volunteer work day at their spot if anyone's interested in joining that. And then kind of related, we've been talking to an organization called Rafi, who have recently come out with a tool called the Grocery Gap Atlas. And I mean, it just demonstrates like market trends over time and how like the consolidation of our grocery industry leads to the closure and leads to issues in food access and the creation of food deserts. So they're going to do a presentation for us too at some point. So I don't know, it's just kind of speaks to Lucky and Safeway earlier this year closing.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Jade. Yeah, Rafi's a really interesting organization, does a lot around these food deserts or apartheids or food swamps. Yeah. And really incenting, what does it take to incent food retail? Yeah, great. Thank you, Jade. Beth.
Okay, I've got a question that I'm sure is frustrating. But the food security data, citywide San Francisco data, has come up in a couple conversations recently at SF Environment. And I did want to ask the group where you all currently turn for that data. And I know it's really tricky to capture, but I'm wondering what people lean on right now. And I know there's the SF Marin Food Bank report. I'm just wondering if there's others.
Big question, Beth.
I know.
We have to look back at, there was a big discussion about this before. So Eric, I don't know if you remember this. This was part of that subcommittee around the biannual food report. So I think there was a lot of discussion on that. I just can't.
Yeah, I think it's what the biannual report used as like the only metric for like San Francisco as a city and county was CHIS level data.
Mm-hmm.
But there were included in the biannual report were a lot of like sample populations of food security of people experiencing food insecurity. So I can point you to that, but they're not, they don't capture SF as a whole.
Right. I've got the report open. But thank you all. I wanted to see if someone was keeping something in their pocket. And then I will add that there's this organization C40. It's like climate cities around the world. And there's a food and procurement group coming in late October here to San Francisco. There's a couple different cities. It's like DC, Phoenix, Seattle, Los Angeles. So I just wanted to invite if anyone had questions for cities that do have an office of food, I could share them with that group. New York, for example.
Great, thank you. Fiona, thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to respond to Beth that one other resource I've seen is Feeding America's food security data, and because you can go down to the county level, you can find it for San Francisco, but I'll just point out that it's not actually based on survey data. It's based on like a formula of indicators like income and healthcare access to try to like measure someone, like the population's likelihood of being food insecure. So it's not like a be all end all, but it's one resource to refer to. And one thing that's helpful about it, I would say, is that they've tended to track it over time. And so you can see like those rates going up during the pandemic, for instance. You do have to request the data from them. Like you just go to their site and I think put in your email or something, and then you get the raw data files.
Thank you so much. I'll check it out.
Yeah, and there's all sorts of pockets of groups that are collecting. There's a lot more EHR records that collect food security data based on the USDA screener. So there's a lot of little pockets of this, but it's not a cohesive way, right?
Folks have probably heard, right, that the USDA has been instructed to stop collecting this data. Okay. Yeah, there was news. The administration ordered them to stop like collecting this data because the USDA does data collection on this. So that's something we'll be potentially lacking moving forward.
Yeah, and I mean, the big discussion is what I mean, it goes back to Jeffrey's, like, what is there? I mean, it'd be great to hear from like groups like Fiona. Thank you for hopping in because I mean, like, what do we do as a city when we're looking at this? It's pretty.
Yeah,
just 'cause
and
you
I
don't track
think
it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right?
totally, yeah, and I think there have been some success there. So DPH has a food security tool that's based on the USDA one. There's a 2-part survey and a 6-part survey, and I think a lot of departments who support food programs have adopted that. So HSA certainly asked that in the CFAP programs. So that's like progress because it means we can compare it. Like we have it for each of our programs and we can compare it if other departments are doing it. Again, it doesn't speak to the citywide level. Of course, people who access food support programs are likely they're going to be getting support with their food security, but also are more likely to be food insecure to begin with. So yeah, I would say like, it's not a citywide thing yet, but it's good to see that people are both collecting it more and also using a standard tool so that it can be compared across sources. And there is, I believe that data, as Eric pointed out, is in the biennial report. It was part of the different department submissions. So you can kind of see that by program for departments that collect it.
Right. Thank you. Super. Okay, other comments, questions, emerging issues? Okay, I am not seeing any hands up, and I'm not seeing any notes in the chat. Again, we mentioned this is going to be a short meeting, so thank you all. Short meeting, but you do have some homework for those of you that want to see the continuation of the Food Security Task Force. You will be receiving the if you're on the listserv, and actually if you're not on the listserv, you can probably, if you want to throw something in the chat, I think P can capture your info. We encourage you. And thank you so much. Our next meeting will be beginning of November, and we will have some updates for you after we meet with some of the supervisors around the food coordination, and we have some feedback for you. And we'll have the updates from the October 15th committee meeting. So lots more to come. Thank you all for being here. There's, again, some information in the chat right now about where to get the information around the transcripts of the task force. But again, thank you all for being here. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye, thanks.